Greetings and salutations everyone, Crimson Nero here, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy. In the last episode, we got the Warp Cube and the Oxyale of which we can use this submarine in order to go down to the bottom of the ocean, and the Warp Cube we can use to get to the next dungeon. But for right now, we're going under the sea to the Sunken Shrine. Ooh, I'm digging those shades of green. Some good stuff. Alright. The Sunken Shrine. Floor 3? Yes, floor 3. Unlike pretty much every other dungeon in this entire game, instead of starting at either the bottom and working up to the top, or starting at the top and working our way to the bottom, we're starting kind of smack dab in the middle, honestly. The dungeon design is very winding. It almost seems kind of like a Zelda dungeon almost in some ways. Obviously, there's a lot less puzzles to do, but there's a lot of working your way kind of up and down and all around on various floors in order to make progress. The biggest thing for us is the fact that the reason why there's a lot of kind of going up and going down and kind of going up and down and all around is the fact that we're actually looking for a very specific item up on the 5th floor that we need in order to access the next dungeon. The item we're looking for is called the Rosetta Stone, and it's located up on the 5th floor, so we'll be heading up in that direction first. After we do that and grab a few items around that area, we're also going to be heading kind of down and then kind of up, but then down. We're going to try to make our way down to the 1st floor where the elemental fiend of water is. Very much like the marsh cave that we were in towards the beginning of the game, the Sunken Shrine has a lot, and I mean a lot, of various rooms and doorways that you can enter and exit however you want. However, some rooms have fantastic treasure held within them. Others have nothing for you to get. Man, this sea snake is a little bit tougher than I thought. Until you just whack it with a really big sword. Speaking of which, much like in Mount Gulg, we are actually fighting monsters with the element that they're somewhat tied to. So, like in Mount Gulg, we were hitting fire-type enemies with fire-type weapons. Now we're hitting kind of water/ice-type enemies with an ice sword. So, hey, I mean, as long as they aren't recovering HP by my lack of proper strategy, then we're totally fine. But clearly, this is a much simpler game than games found later in the franchise, and also just RPGs in general that came out at a later point in time than Final Fantasy did 30 years ago. Ooh, I am digging these colors on the Sahagin. The Sahagin always have very nice colors in terms of like how vibrant they are. The green on the normal Sahagin, the red on the chiefs, and the blue on the princes all look very, very nice, and just... I'm trying to articulate a point, but I don't know exactly how to start it, but just... Final Fantasy, especially in some of its later ports and remakes, it just looks really nice. Especially the PlayStation portable version. That, I mean, as you can see, just the game looks very nice. The pixel art is fantastic. The backgrounds are nicely constructed. Lots of good colors and little tiny effects, like the fact that you kind of have a little bit of shimmering of almost a water effect kind of overlaying the screen. And also, we just got diamond armor. That's some good stuff. we're going to be getting almost pretty much an entire set of entirely diamond equipment, which, if you're using a fighter, then that's really good for them to use. Or, I guess a knight if you decided to go with the Bahamut side quest. Hey, Sam and Jacqueline got... Oh, Sam and Jacqueline and Cyrus got levels. Nice. Meanwhile, I'm over here just staying the same level as before, but no big deal. Just wait until, like, the end of this battle. Hopefully these sea snakes give me a decent amount of experience. But then again, at this point in the game, most combinations of enemies give you around, like... Well, with the exception to sea snakes, but most enemies now give a total of about 1,000 experience per battle with like several thousand gil. It really depends on exactly how many enemies are on screen at a time, and also what enemies are on screen at the time. So like probably these ghosts won't give me that many rewards, but I mean I could be just yeah. I mean they gave me almost 2,000 gil, but the amount of experience I got was really only close to about 500. So I mean the way that Final Fantasy is made is the fact that you get way more gil than you get experience, and that's because you're buying new equipment and new spells and stuff like every, I don't know, probably every hour or so, maybe every like hour and a half, depending on how long it takes you to get from point A to point B. But because the things are kind of expensive towards the late game, they really Square did a really good job of kind of balancing things out in the later ports in terms of making sure that you have enough money in order to get what you want. Obviously, considering we're using only 2 spellcasters, well, actually no, technically at this point we are actually using 4 spellcasters, but the lower level spells are not nearly as expensive as the higher level ones that the white mage and black mage can use. Yeah, if you were using a party that was consisting of all spellcasters, like high tier spellcasting, so pretty much just white mages and black mages, that would require you to use a lot of money. And yes, some of the equipment that you can buy for physical fighters is pretty expensive, depending on what exactly you're getting and where you're getting it from. But things are balanced. After the game's been around for 30 years and has seen multiple remakes, it's pretty safe to say that this game has kind of gotten to a good enough point where things are pretty much as balanced as they can get for the most part. I mean, there are a few little tweaks that could be made, but when it comes to specifically the amount of money that you get, things are pretty good, especially once you get to fighting like the elemental fiends. Like once you get to that point in the game, the amount of money that you start making, it just goes through the roof. Like, you can just go into a dungeon with very little money, and then by the time you come out of it and go rest in an inn or go buy more items at the shop, you realize, oh my gosh, I am swimming in gil, which is fantastic. Man, if only getting money in real life was this easy. Then again, fighting animals and monsters in real life would probably be well, it wouldn't probably, it would be extremely difficult. As someone who has done martial arts in the past, I know that fighting is hard. It's really hard, and you've got to be on your toes literally all the time. It's not just a test of physical prowess, but it's also a matter of using your head. But anyways, got some nice gil and a diamond armlet. Nice. I'm gonna be using that for sure. Actually, no, I'm not, because Sam is. Huh, I thought that... Oh, wait, maybe the armlet I have right now is not actually quite as good as the... Or, maybe the armlet I'm currently using on myself is better than the diamond armlet, but that's okay. Oh, a mermaid. Hello.
Save the sea. Restore light to the water crystal.
Restore water to the light crystal. Just add water. It's like a chia pet. Chia. Excuse me? Excuse me? Do you mind moving? Please? I want to get out of this room. Guys, she's a siren! She lured me into this room with her beautiful song, and now she's keeping me here against my will! Alright, just need you to go. Oh, really? Ah! I need you to take one more step. Not that way! Take one step up, and now another step up, please. Or to the side. There we go! Alright, we're out of here! Hooray for AI pathfinding operations and coding, am I right? Ha! Ha! I've been blocked off by villagers, and bats, and now mermaids! Well, that doesn't sound good. But fear not! We shall be victorious, for we are the heroes foretold in the prophecy. We are the warriors of light. The Mirage Tower, you say? In a desert? Huh, where have we seen something like that before? Ah, yes! It is actually, the Mirage Tower is actually shown in the opening cutscene of the game. As well as we'll actually be going there soon enough, because that is the beginning of the temple regarding the Crystal of Wind, or Air. Man, there's just chests everywhere. And we have obtained the Rosetta Stone! Fantastic! Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that you get the Rosetta Stone the first time you come through here. It'd be kind of a pain if you had to come back here just to get the Rosetta Stone. Alright, and now we can start the backtracking portion of the Sunken Shrine. I'm just checking to make sure that I didn't miss any potential treasures. Treasures! And now all I'm thinking about is the game company Treasure, who actually makes fantastic games, which many people would consider to be treasures. Man, they make some good games. Man, I should play like Sin and Punishment or sometime soon, sometime soon. Maybe Alien Soldier, or maybe Gunstar Heroes. Huh. Man, so many good games. Not always enough time. My, this is quite the cornucopia of enemies. And I'm poisoned. Fantastic. Are there even such things as sea trolls, sea snakes, and sea scorpions? Like, are there actually, like, creatures that just, like, that are similar to this that exist on the bottom of the ocean? Probably not. I don't know. I'm not a marine biologist, but I feel like this is part of where the fantasy in Final Fantasy is really starting to show. Then again, I mean, it was showing since the first episode. Let's be real here. But hey, at least they gave me a lot of good money. Wow, I just realized exactly how high Jacqueline's HP total is. She's the second most bulky character in this entire party. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. because fighters and warriors and barbarians have really high physical defense and really high HP. Sometimes their magic defense is sometimes a little bit on the lacking side in order to balance things out. And characters like ninjas and thieves and then mages take more physical damage, but are either have higher evasion or have higher magic defense. But the reason why white mages have pretty high HP growths is the fact that technically clerics in Dungeons and Dragons are actually not that squishy. It may seem like that because, like, hey, if you're going to attack something, you're probably going to attack the thing that can heal other guys. But clerics can wear some pretty hefty armor and also can do some pretty powerful stuff. Especially because of the fact that there's also the paladin, and the paladin is kind of related to a white mage or to a cleric, but is a bit different. They're more of a healing tank. They depending on how you make a paladin, they can be a little bit of everything. They can be a tank, they can be healing, they can be damage. It's a pretty good all-over class. But most of the time, well, at least for this party, we have a fairly good balance of all things, but we definitely have a lot of DPS with a little bit of tanking. With a little bit of tanking from myself and Jacqueline to a degree, but Jacqueline is mostly going to be healing when it comes to the sacred trinity that is found within most archetypes in MMOs and other similar types of role-playing games. But the good thing about classes in role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons is the fact that they have a lot more customization in later versions of Dungeons and Dragons than they did in the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, heck, like the big three archetypes back in the day, not for specifically Dungeons and Dragons, but just kind of in a lot of things, it wasn't a matter of hit things hard with sword, heal stuff, and it wasn't always a matter of do damage, heal damage, or take damage like it is in MMOs. For a while, there was the big trinity of, like, warrior, thief, and mage. Basically, super powerful physical, super powerful magic, and then super fast, and, like, utility stuff. I mean, there's tons of different classes that get introduced in all different types of role-playing games, whether they are tabletop, or video game, or anything else in between. I mean, there are things like fighter, thief, white mage, black mage. There are like ninjas, samurai, wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, paladins, barbarians, fighters, monks, vampires, freelancers, different types of mages. Just there's so many different things that I can't even name all of them. But it's always really cool to see a class system in games because of the fact that you get to see really cool varied designs for how those classes look. I mean, a black mage looks very different than a white mage, and a white mage looks very different than a red mage. And even if you just look at games that have like a designated like quote-unquote mage archetype, there's still ways that you can make different mages from the same traditional backbone in terms of their design. One of my favorite things to do with my friends, actually, is that when we're all creating Dungeons and Dragons characters for like a new campaign or something, some of our favorite things to do is to draw each other's characters, or like draw like a big group shot, just because it allows us to kind of see each other's art style, and also to see characters in different art styles, as well as to see kind of how there are some slight differences in the way that some people design their characters or other people's characters, even if there is a somewhat pre-existing blueprint to go off of. I mean, hey, people's art styles, not just my friends and I, but just in general, the way that certain people, that everyone draws is very slightly different, and the different elements that that each artist focuses on is very different. Like, hey, maybe someone likes to draw faces to be very angular, to be very to have very sharp edges, but some other person might think that, hey, I want to draw faces to be a lot more rounded, a lot smoother, almost kind of circular. And that's not just a preference in terms of overall art style. That can also just be how certain characters are specifically designed. Obviously, there's been many character studies in the past, but you look at certain characters and you're like, oh hey, that character is kind of like a square. They're kind of a symbol of fortitude. They're a firm foundation to build on. Some people will look at characters that are a little bit more rounded, and they'll think of a circle, and they'll be like, "Hey, a circle is a very round shape. It's very friendly. It doesn't have any harsh edges that are very pointy." Some people will look at certain characters and see triangles, and will think, "Ooh, triangles. Those have very sharp, pointy points on them that seem harmful. That seem almost negative sometimes." Ooh, the Giant's gloves. That is really good. Yeah, the Giant's gloves I will be using quite a bit, because you can use them to basically cast a buff on yourself that acts kind of like a temper. I think it's like the next level of temper, but I don't remember. It's Saber, that's it. Saber is the name of the spell that I basically get to cast on myself. So, between two people casting Haste and Temper, I can also cast Saber on myself, and I can do so much damage. I mean, hey, I managed to get, what, like a 800 plus damage critical hit on Marlith at the end of her boss fight. I mean, hey, there's still so much more I can do, especially because we're still not even done with the game. I mean, hey, that just goes into the idea of progression is always pretty cool, and it's not always just a matter of stats. Sometimes it's a matter of getting a new item or a new piece of armor, or even seeing a physical change in your character. Yes, you can look at all of the prestige classes in Final Fantasy on the PSP, and even like the PlayStation and the Game Boy Advance, and even the Wonder Swan. You can look at the character sprites and say, yeah, they definitely got an upgrade. Like they have like better looking equipment. Like their robes and armor have changed. Their character sprites are a lot more representative of a change in power level. But in the original version of Final Fantasy for the Famicom and the NES, you actually saw your character sprites completely change, because even though it was much more limited hardware, the character sprites looked different because of the fact that they were taller, a little bit wider, so like implying like more muscle mass, and they just looked older. It wasn't just a journey of, oh hey, I'm stronger because my numbers are higher or whatever. or because I pulled the magic sword of Antioch. It's not necessarily just that. It's the fact that you are actually growing as a character. Sometimes both physically, but also in other games that focus more on the actual story and characterization. Sometimes you will see that a character changes in terms of their mentality, of their beliefs, of the way that they think and feel, not just the way that they present themselves physically in terms of appearance. I've always been a sucker of multiple forms, just like changing forms, having characters that have multiple forms or different like looks and appearances to them. Even if it's just a change in costume. I'm just a big sucker for just design work in characters. I love character designs so much. Whether it's something like Goku going between regular state and like Super Saiyan 1 or Super Saiyan 2 or 3 or Super Saiyan God or even Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, so Super Saiyan Blue, and now also Ultra Instinct and like full Ultra Instinct. I haven't really been keeping up much with Dragon Ball Super, but nonetheless, you can see that Goku changes physically as his power level increases. And whether it's like Goku like ascending to the different levels of Super Saiyan, or even like Kirby changing all of his different like appearances and stuff. I just love characters that just evolve in terms of their design and the way that they look, even if it's something as simple as just a tiny detail here or there, or just like a change in costume or anything like that. I love character designs and anything that is dynamic and changes over time to reflect the trials and tribulations that a character goes through.
You humans to impress. I would not have thought to see you here.
That's a pretty blue orb.
But it is evil! Every villain is lemons! But do you really think you can defeat the Fiend of Water here in my own domain?
Yes.
Fools! These dark depths shall be your tomb!
Alright, let's rock! Boss time against the Kraken! Release the Kraken! So, one thing that, for those of you who have a lot of experience in role-playing games, tabletop specifically, especially if it's Dungeons & Dragons, you may notice that the elemental fiends that we've been fighting are all classified as very traditional staples of fantasy role-playing games, but also are extremely powerful entities. We fought Lich, Marlith, now the Kraken. And overall, all of them can be seen in monster manuals throughout the generations, and they all are within kind of the mid-tier to upper echelons that you would find in the monster manual, showing that these monsters are tough cookies, regardless of how and when and where you fight them. I mean, I think that the Kraken in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is like, what, a challenge rating in like the 20s or something? Like around a 23 or something? Maybe even higher. I don't know, I haven't checked. I haven't actually used a Kraken in any of my campaigns yet. Ooh, 700 plus damage. Nice. And it's only going to get higher. We're going higher and higher. Well, looks like Sam is all out of MP. Yeah, he and I don't really have that much MP as of right now. Oh my gosh, over 1,000 damage! Nice! Oh, so much damage. That was some good stuff. Yeah, I know I cheese the boss fights because of the strategy, but seriously, like, it's so effective to use. Why not do it? Like, once you learn that you can stack Temper and Saber onto characters, this game just immediately breaks open, like, straight down the middle. It is beautiful. Yeah, it takes a little bit of the challenge away, but still, like, these are challenging fights. But with that, we have restored the water crystal and saved the mermaids.
Meanwhile, back at the Life Spring Grotto.
We now have access to a brand new bonus dungeon. But forget about that, because I'm not doing any of the bonus content in this game. Wow, that even took us outside of Onrock. But hey, we're done with 3 of the 4 elemental fiends. This is oh my gosh! Look at how much money we have. Oh, so much cash. I think we got like over 100,000 gil while we were in there. I wasn't even keeping track. Like I said, just sometimes you could just look away for like, I don't know, half an hour and hours worth of gameplay, and then suddenly you're swimming in gil, which is awesome. Alright. Can I actually buy these spells now? Ooh. We got Saber and Blind. Okay, those will be kind of useful. We have Null Death and Healga. Or Healaga. Definitely gonna take Healaga, that is for sure. There are other magic shops for the higher levels, so I'm not 100% sure if these are our only options for level 7 stuff. But, I can always come back later if I really need them. I always get turned around in this town. Anyway, so with that said, we have taken care of the Sunken Shrine. We have beaten the Kraken, restored light to the water crystal, and we also got the Rosetta Stone while we were at it. So that's going to end things off for this episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy. I'm Crimson Nero. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, everyone, fare thee well.